Today is Thursday, March 30th. We'll tell you where millions of Americans are bracing for powerful tornadoes this time. Also, the controversial new bans affecting kids, and which prescription drug is now available over the counter. Plus, what a new study says about the impact of pets on children's food allergies. Why some big-name tech leaders signed a letter calling for AI companies to pause their work. And how some universities are ditching letter grades and what they're now offering instead. Those stories and even more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Millions of Americans are being told to prepare now as intense, widespread, severe weather moves across the country. And this storm system already brought more snow and rain to the West Coast earlier this week, but as it's moved toward the central U.S., it's gotten even more intense. The next threat starts this afternoon in parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. People could see hail the size of baseballs, damaging winds, and tornadoes. But the more serious and widespread threat is expected for tomorrow. That's when meteorologists say severe weather is most likely from Iowa and Illinois, south into Arkansas, parts of northern Mississippi, and western Tennessee. This means the storms could hit a lot of big cities like Chicago, St. Louis, Little Rock, Memphis, and Indianapolis. AccuWeather says at least several tornadoes will likely be on the ground, along with powerful wind gusts and torrential downpours. So forecasters are telling people to make sure they have access to weather bulletins and a safe place to take shelter before these storms hit. That big Swiss bank that collapsed earlier this month is now accused of helping ultra-wealthy Americans dodge their taxes for several years now. Already, the bank notoriously pleaded guilty about a decade ago to knowingly and willingly helping American clients hide their offshore assets and income from the IRS. And now a new Senate investigation says Credit Suisse never stopped, that it kept helping tax cheats long after the bank agreed to crack down on this kind of thing as part of a plea agreement. All of this information comes from two former Credit Suisse bankers now working with the U.S. government as whistleblowers. Now they say Credit Suisse should pay back as much as $1.3 billion, since that's how much of the fee was waived as part of the plea deal last time. Remember, though, just this month, Credit Suisse was taken over by its longtime rival, UBS Group. So it's not clear how much responsibility UBS will have to face. For now, a Credit Suisse spokesperson just said the bank does not tolerate tax evasion and that it's been supporting the Senate investigation. And UBS has not commented. Two more states just added controversial new restrictions for transgender kids and teens. Lawmakers in both West Virginia and Kentucky decided to ban access to what doctors call gender-affirming healthcare. That means healthcare providers won't be allowed to prescribe hormone therapy or puberty blockers to anyone younger than 18. And minors won't be able to get gender-affirming surgeries. People who support the new laws call gender-affirming care harmful and experimental. But medical experts and LGBTQ advocates have said politicians should not be the ones making the call. Both sides say they're interested in protecting minors. This has been a key issue this year. Georgia, Iowa, and Tennessee also enacted new bans earlier this month, though the Kentucky law goes a step further. It also bans discussions of sexual orientation or gender identity in schools, says students can only use the bathrooms that align with the sex they were assigned at birth, and says teachers don't have to call students by their preferred pronouns. Even more states are considering similar measures now, and some are considering bills that would ban gender-affirming care for many adults as well. So stay tuned. Well, this could be a big turning point in the opioid epidemic. People will soon be able to buy medication to reverse an overdose without needing a prescription. The FDA officially decided the nasal spray Narcan could be sold over the counter. Public health experts say this step is critical to end the overdose crisis that's killed nearly 102,000 Americans in the past year. The drug maker behind Narcan has not said how much it's going to cost yet, but Narcan's manufacturer says the nasal spray will likely begin appearing on store shelves by late summer. Walgreens and CVS have already said they're going to carry it once available, and the FDA says it could also end up in places like grocery stores, gas stations, and online. Other drug companies say they're working on over-the-counter overdose reversal medicines as well, so expect more options in the market soon. More news is still coming up, but first, a quick thanks to our sponsor. I'm so excited to share more about Green Chef with you. Green Chef expanded its menu so you can now choose from 30-plus recipes weekly with the option to mix and match meals from different dietary preferences. So you can order vegan one day, then fill up with the protein-packed options the next. And no matter what, Green Chef delivers quality. Recipes feature seasonal organic produce, premium proteins, and sustainably sourced seafood. One of my favorite meals from Green Chef has been the maple butternut squash risotto. To be honest, I've always been a bit intimidated to buy an entire butternut squash for a recipe, but Green Chef has made it so doable with smaller chunks that I could chop up and easily follow along with the recipe. And the end result was so delicious and fancy. And by the way, Green Chef is now owned by HelloFresh, so I love that my listeners can now enjoy both brands at a discount. Go to greenchef.com/newsworthy60 and use the code newsworthy60 to get 60% off plus free shipping. Again, go to greenchef.com/newsworthy60 and use that code newsworthy60 to get 60% off plus free shipping. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for eating well. There's new evidence that children who grow up with pets are less likely to get allergies. And we're not just talking about allergies to dogs and cats, but food allergies too. A new study followed 66,000 children from Japan, and it found kids who were exposed to cats in early infancy were less likely to be allergic to eggs, wheat, and soybeans. Those exposed to dogs were less likely to be allergic to eggs, milk, and nuts. Same thing when the kids' mothers were exposed to dogs and cats while they were pregnant. And the more the animals are around, the stronger the benefit seems to be. So what is it about pets that seemingly helps young kids? Well, researchers don't know for sure, but they do suspect it has something to do with the bacteria and other microbes animals drag through the home. They could actually be important for building a healthy immune system that's more tolerant and less sensitive to allergens. Of course, it's worth noting, just because a child is around pets does not mean they definitely won't have food allergies, or that they will if they don't have pets. It's just one factor out of several that doctors say could influence what kids are allergic to. Pope Francis is in the hospital this morning and is expected to stay there for a few days. The Vatican says the 86-year-old Pope had trouble breathing, so he went in for tests yesterday and found out he had a respiratory infection. Now he's being treated with his closest staff and security also staying at the hospital with him. After the news came out, well wishes came in from around the world. This is the busiest time of the year for Pope Francis, with many events and services scheduled in the next week ahead of Easter weekend. For now, he's still scheduled to hold a mass in a few days for Palm Sunday. More than 1,000 tech leaders, researchers, and entrepreneurs are calling for artificial intelligence to be put on hold. The nonprofit Future of Life put out a new open letter signed by people like SpaceX, Tesla, and Twitter CEO Elon Musk, Apple's co-founder Steve Wozniak, 2020 presidential candidate Andrew Yang, and many more. They're all calling on all AI labs to take a 6-month pause to consider the risks of any technology more powerful than the new successor to ChatGPT, GPT-4. The letter asks questions like, should we develop non-human minds that might eventually outnumber, outsmart, obsolete, and replace us? Should we risk loss of control of our civilization? It says AI research and development should refocus to make the systems already out there more accurate, safe, and trustworthy. The letter acknowledges that a lot of good can come from AI, but that the world first needs to be confident it can manage the risks. So far, the company behind ChatGPT and GPT-4 has not responded to the letter. Neither did Microsoft and Google, who have also gone all into the AI race. Earlier this month, we talked more right here on the Newsworthy about the world's possible future with AI. If you want to listen to that, just look for the episode titled Special Edition, AI Chatbots May Change Everything. It was from March 4th. Realize it or not, there's a low-power shared internet network that helps Amazon devices work across most of America. And now Amazon wants more people to create new devices to work with that system. We're talking about Amazon Sidewalk. That's Amazon's internet sharing program that works with devices like Echo speakers, Ring security cameras, and smart outdoor lights. Even though you pay for your own internet, Amazon devices like that can be used kind of like mini cell towers to help each other out. Well, a new sidewalk coverage map out this week says at this point, more than 90% of the American population can access that public network. And the company is encouraging tech developers to really take advantage now. Amazon says developers will be able to make things like high-tech dog trackers, package trackers, weather stations, leak detectors, garage door controllers, smart locks, and much more. That can be connected around your whole neighborhood, not just your home. Now, Amazon says it cannot wait to see what developers are able to build with Sidewalk next. Baseball fans, the wait is over. It's officially opening day. All 30 MLB teams will play in 15 games today. This year's top pitchers include 21 All-Stars and 5 pitchers who are going to be making their debut for new clubs. There are also some new rules this year, including some meant to speed up the pace of the games. And there are going to be some big names throwing out ceremonial first pitches. At the Giants-Yankees game, the honor is going to baseball legend Mariano Rivera. At the Braves-Nationals game, it's going to be the Ukrainian ambassador to the U.S. And before the reigning champion Houston Astros get back on the diamond, the first pitch will be thrown by Houston native Megan Thee Stallion. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Thing to Know Thursday. And today we are talking about a growing movement at colleges around the country that's being called ungrading. But first, a quick break. Okay, now back to Thing to Know Thursday. Many college professors are no longer assigning the usual A through F grades to first-year students. Instead, there are a variety of other options. In some classes, students get only 1 grade at the end of the course. Elsewhere, students get contracts that lay out their goals, then written evaluations about how they're doing. And at MIT, first-year students can either get a pass or no grade recorded at all. They start getting actual letter grades later on. But the idea is to help ease the transition for students into higher education, since there are so many adjustments in that first year. And there have been concerns about student mental health. Advocates say when students aren't worried about grades, they're more likely to challenge themselves with tougher courses. They also say this way, students don't just memorize the bare minimum required to get a good grade, but they actually focus on learning. But the method also has its critics. NPR spoke to an education policy expert at a Washington think tank who says replacing typical letter grades is just coddling students and treating them like they're fragile, and that it's just delaying students from learning necessary study skills. Others say it's not setting students up for success, since it's good for them to graduate with a grade point average that they can show future employers, and that students might put less effort into classes if they're not being graded. So it might just depend on the person. But now that it's become a more common practice, it is something prospective students can at least consider when picking where they want to go to school. All right, thank you so much for listening today. We'll catch you up on more news to know tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.